Hi everyone, my name is Annabelle, and on this channel I talk about my bulimia recovery journey. I wanted to make this video about my fitness pal and the Garmin watch because first of all I see a lot of people talking about it online and like how counting calories is like a bad thing, and I understand how that can be, but I just wanted to share with you my perspective of using tracking apps and also Garmin because I'm somebody who really takes my fitness seriously. Also, while I was still struggling with bulimia, right now I am 2 months binge and purge free. But even before that, I was always like seriously into fitness, not in an obsessive way, not in a way to lose weight, but rather because I really, especially in the last years, I'm not gonna say that it always was this case, but in the last couple of years, it was more about building muscle and having strength rather than losing weight. The way I thought I was losing weight and controlling my weight was through binging and purging. But when it came to fitness, I actually really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed especially my new journey into weightlifting and all of that. So I wanted to make this video for you, for anybody who's been on the recovery from bulimia, or if you are still not fully recovered, and you do care about your fitness and you do wanna, gain muscle, this is for you. So I'm gonna walk you through a bit of how I started using these apps and why in the first place, and then sort of like my relationship with it today as I am recovering from binge eating, and just like to show you basically my perspective around it and like what's helping me still use it and still be in recovery and actually having it sort of like a support rather than something that I fear or whatever. So I first started using MyFitnessPal as a way to track my protein intake because I wanted to lift weights, I wanted to bulk, and I needed to have sufficient protein in order to do that. But I didn't really know how much protein was in the foods I was eating. I had no idea, so I had to see like some sort of parameter for that. And MyFitnessPal is easy, if you use it, you know how like accessible and comfortable it is to use. So I started using it for that. When I started doing that, I also started seeing the calories because unfortunately you cannot really use it without without having a calorie limit for the day. That really messed with me in the beginning because I was seeing like these numbers, and it kind of took me back to the time when I was anorexic and I was counting calories. Of course, back then I had no idea what an app even was. I'm not sure there was even cell phones, smartphones back then, but that's a different story. So I was basically like Googling the calories of foods I would eat, and then I would like keep track in my head, or sometimes I would even write the foods I was eating just to like try to make sense of it or try to like limit it, even though I had no idea how much I was burning, so it didn't really make sense. So when I saw these numbers on the app, it kind of took me back to that time in my life when I was like restricting, and I remember like how much it triggered me in the beginning. But because it was important to me to keep tracking my protein intake, and also like I started understanding fiber and all of the like how carbs are important to you and all of these things. So I wanted actually to see what I'm consuming. Like I wanted to see when I'm eating, I don't know, peas or broccoli or salmon versus eggs, how what am I dealing with here, just like to understand out of curiosity. So I knew I didn't want to stop using the app, even though I remember like asking my partner like, is there a way to use the app without seeing the calories? But he's like, unfortunately not. So I basically like try to slowly change my mentality around it, like that the number, yeah, like maybe I was trying to hit a number, especially when I was on the reduction period, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but I started to less think about it as something bad, but rather this is my nutrients, if this makes sense. Like I kind of took this label from the number of the calories of being something negative, and I focused on what I'm actually gaining from this app, which was understanding what I'm eating and how that looked like. Then I got my Garmin watch from my partner. He bought a new watch and he passed it down to me. And at first it was really weird for me to use it because I've never had a watch before, and I didn't really used to track anything when I used to work out and be into fitness for as long as I can remember, but never as seriously as lifting weights. It was always, I don't know if you guys know, my fitness blender. They're an amazing YouTube channel. They have like free workouts, and I used to do those workouts for as long as I can remember, like HIIT workouts and even like something strength training with like the dumbbells and stuff. But that I wouldn't call that like serious lifting. And when I started doing serious lifting, I got the Garmin, and it helped me kind of, I love it because it like allows you to start your set. Like you start, like for example, you're doing bicep curls and then you take a rest. So like you can do this on the watch and it will tell you like how much you're resting in between, and then I don't have to like think about it. So I really enjoyed it for that. But then this watch started showing me an estimation of how much calories I'm burning, as well as like how many steps I'm taking every day, and so on and so on. That also took me back to the times when I was anorexic, when I used to try to, also by Googling, like how much do I burn doing this and that and so on. Again, I had to work a lot on just releasing that fear of the numbers. I'm not gonna say that like until now I have this under control, but I will say like that it's way better now. Like I will talk about it later in the video, how that transformation happened. But back then it was like something that I feared. I would remember, again, when I was still binging and purging, I would remember if I went above the number of calories that I had for a goal for that day, it would really mess me up. I would look at that number and like if it was higher than that, I would immediately go into like black and white thinking of, oh, it went above, so now it means that I'm gonna gain weight, oh my God, and all these things. And it wasn't really like helping me. And there were times when I tried to stop it, but then with the help of my partner, again, went back to the whole idea of, no, this is just for me to look at the nutrients, nothing else. Then I entered a different phase where it wasn't me bulking anymore to gain weight, but rather on reduction, to lose the fat that I gained while I was bulking. That also took me on another trip. Again, this whole restriction and counting calories and just like paying attention to the numbers, which this time I actually had to pay attention to the numbers. That was really, really hard to deal with, honestly. That's when actually like even so, when the number went above the goal, the number of calorie goal for that day, that would really like start a binge and make it escalate and so on and so on. There was like a bit of a turning point for me when I really wanted to recover from bulimia. Like I really wanted to let go of it, but I was still like on reduction, and I was on reduction for months, and I didn't have any, like I didn't hit the weight that I wanted or like have the results that I wanted because I was still binging and purging, which I'm gonna talk about it in future videos. Purging, even when you think that you got everything out, it doesn't really actually take everything out. Again, future video. I know this now in hindsight, but back then I didn't know this. And so even though I was purging everything that I binged, I didn't like lose weight. So that really frustrated me, but I was still trying to stay within that limit of those calories, like no matter what. But then 2 months ago, something shifted. And I'm not gonna say this is like a one-day thing. I've been trying to recover from bulimia for a while now. I've even been sober for 2 months after my birthday, but then I kind of like slipped again. And now I am once again 2 months sober. And this time it feels different because what I decided this time, that like when I absolutely had it with this obsession about food, and there's a lot of factors that went into it. Speaking of like my fitness pal, I asked myself, what will happen if I go above this number on the app? What will happen if I gain weight? And the answer was nothing. Like nothing will happen. I've been afraid of gaining weight for as long as I can remember. This is this is the reason why my bulimia began, and this is the reason why, like one of the reasons why it continued on, because of this fear of gaining weight. But because I've been doing a lot of work on myself and like on my values and what I wanted out of life and all of these things, I really like asked myself, what the hell will happen if I gained weight? And like nothing, you know, because truth be told, I don't even know why I wanted to lose weight in the first place. I think, of course, like I wanted to fit in to society standards. My whole obsession with weight came from my mother, who always made it very clear that if I don't lose weight, then I'm not lovable. If I don't look like other girls, I'm not gonna be accepted, loved, etc. But I don't really want to look like other girls. Now, at 33, I can say this. And it's funny because like I was living in the shadow of my younger self. But when I actually like stopped to ask myself what I actually want out of life, who do I want to be? I want to be a strong woman. I like having muscle. I like being strong. I like my body, like that my body can do stuff. And that is more important to me than being skinny. And when I realized that, then that question happened. Like it came to me, like what will happen if I gain weight? And then I also had the thought, you know what? If I don't like how I look like, I can always lose that weight later. Like it's fine. It was like so simple, but I've never like thought about it like that before, to be frank. And also another thing that happened about 2 months ago, that I realized that I have no idea what this number on my fitness pal actually means. because all this time that I've been using this app, I haven't been eating like normally. I've been always binging and purging in between. So there was no point of me using that app that like that number doesn't really reflect how my body is without an eating disorder. And I really want to see how my body feels like and how it operates without an eating disorder. I have no idea. I've been operating on the, if you guys lift weight, if you like on this journey of bulking and reduction, like there's a term called maintenance. Maintenance calories are what do you need, how much calories you need to eat a day for nothing to happen, for not gaining weight, for not losing weight, just like to stay as you are. So that number that I was like basing my like bulking and reduction period on was actually not true, because that number was my body when it had bulimia. So I realized like this number doesn't really mean anything. And I really want to know what this number is. Like for me to have like a proper, bulking period and reduction period, if I choose to have it, I really want to know what this number is. So I decided that I'm really not gonna like pay attention to this number anymore. I'm just gonna eat how I'm feeling that day. And because I've also been, and this is another topic, I've been allowing myself to eat the foods that I used to deem bad, the foods that I used to eat only when it was in a binging and purging session. Because I'm allowing myself to eat these foods, I am no longer sort of feeling like I need to eat a lot, if that makes sense. I of course, like I eat 3 meals a day. I eat very healthy. I've always eaten healthy, but I no longer have like this obsession with the bad foods because now I'm allowing myself to eat them. But when it comes to my fitness pal, I've actually been documenting everything on it, like everything. Even if I don't know, I had like a non-alcoholic beer today and I put that in there just because I'm really curious. I'm really curious to know how my body will be like in 6 months from now when, let's say, like it's back to normal, or the normal that it should be, that I have no idea what it is. I'm really curious about that. So I've started using my fitness pal as like, hey, you're the thing that's gonna help me understand what my body needs, like how much calories actually my body needs. And again, out of pure curiosity of what my body needs to operate. And I don't know, this shift like made a world of a difference to me. And now I just log stuff in the app, and sometimes I don't even look at like the overall number. I just like see what's going on. And sometimes I actually use it to understand, like if I'm feeling bloated, okay, what foods did I eat made me bloated? Or even like what foods I ate at dinner versus breakfast or lunch that made me bloated later in the day, because that also matters. So I'm just like using it as like an experimental thing rather than it determines my life, And like the relationship completely shifted. And honestly, I don't know how one can do this without this. I'm really curious. Like when I see people sometimes on social media, although I really try not to be on there, and I really advise you to do that as well. But when I do see people talking about like people who are tracking and like how wrong that is or whatever, I'm like, but how would you know? If you've never done these things before, if you've never checked these things, how would you know what is good for your body, or what does your body need, or how, like, why is it feeling bloated, or why are you feeling hungry even though you just ate? Like, what are the nutrients that keep you filled or that make you bloated? It's just like, it's all very curious to me. And I really believe that curiosity, not just about this, but about you, what you want from life, what do you like, what you don't like, what are your values, all of these things. This is a superpower to have in life, Like if you're always curious, if you just like look at life with wonder rather than like judgment or like putting too much labeling or whatever it is, it just makes life way more interesting. That's what has been my experience. As for the Garmin watch and the step counting, so this is also something I needed to really work on to understand that the amount of calories that the Garmin watch shows me that I burn also is meaningless. It's not an accurate measure. It depends on so many different things. And I used to use it, for example, like especially on days when I would be walking in the city and I would want to get like ice cream or cake or something like that. I would see like the number of calories that I burned doing all the steps, and then I would decide if I could eat something or not. But I was like, no. I'm not gonna let a watch determine if I can have ice cream or not. Like if I want to have ice cream, I'm gonna have it. And again, these numbers, they don't mean anything. And at the end of the day, it's like life is about memories and being in the moment. And like, what do I want? Do I want a watch and numbers dictate how I live my life, or do I want me to dictate how I live my life? And when I'm out with my partner and we're eating cookies or whatever it is, I don't want to stop to think about these things. I want to enjoy the moment with him. Of course, like, I do want to be mindful. Am I eating something because I feel like I have to eat it? Like I'm not gonna have it again, which again, I will talk about in a different video. Do I want to eat this because I actually want to? And how much I'm gonna eat out of this based on how I'm feeling? Those are the things that I'm like more fascinated about than the number of calories. I hope that this video gave you something to think about. Like, there's nothing wrong with using apps. I think it's all about your relationship with something. It's like a lot of things in life are like this, that it's not about the thing that you do, it's about the intention behind it and how you're relating yourself to it. Because something that one person can be doing can be catastrophic and can be devastating to that person. But if you're using it in a different way, a way that feels good to you, that makes sense to you, that you know the why behind, it's a totally different game. So just think about that the next time you hear something like this, or when you make your decision. What do you want to gain from this thing? And do you actually want to have this gain from it? That's really important. Like for me, this was the same, like with asking myself, why the hell do I want to be skinny? I never asked myself that before, which is crazy. But hindsight is 2020, so it's easier to say this now than, you know, when you're in it. That's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. You are so strong for watching until the end, for wanting to recover, for wanting to have a better life. For what it's worth, I believe in you. I'll see you soon. Bye.